This is Innovation Connected, coming to you from the World Economic Forum in Davos, a podcast by Tenity.
My name is Max. I'm a venture partner of Tenity and would like to welcome my esteemed guest, Ornit. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Can you do a quick intro about yourself, what you did so far, and what is your current role?
Sure. So, Ornit, I am half French, half Israeli. I lived all over the world, and I started out as a lawyer, but recovered very, very quickly. I was only a lawyer for under 3 years, and I've been in high tech since then, doing sales, marketing, business development. I founded companies. I had some nice successes. I got very confident that I know what startups want, so I became a venture capitalist. But before I became a venture capitalist, to be honest, the last company I founded was a startup that was supposed to help other startups. And my first client was Sony, the second was Citi, then Lenovo, and so on and so forth. And I got the message. And from there, I moved to investing, and I've been investing ever since. Mm-hmm. And in the last year and a half, I have been an investor, a partner at Rain. I am on the investment committee for collective equity and on the advisory board for Copenhagen Fintech.
Okay. Thank you for that short introduction.
Brief.
Yes, very good, very good. Thank you for that. What is a good investor?
So it's a good question. I think a good investor is an investor that gives you enough money to get to the next milestone you need to get to, and that helps you when you want it, but doesn't micromanage you when you are running and doing what you need to do.
Mm-hmm. So it means that she shouldn't give you too much cash at the beginning.
I think you should give enough cash to get to where you need to get to, not too much that you're wasteful and not too little that you cannot make it.
Absolutely. What do you think is the current problem in the industry?
Just one?
What are the current problems in the industry? Thank you.
So I think there are many, right? This is an industry that's fraught with challenges because we're trying to fuel the next innovation. Now, if we start with the problem of the investors, I think many of them don't know. Most of us, if we're honest, will miss a lot of very exciting opportunities. And those opportunities might go by the wayside, but also sometimes we keep putting good money after bad in things that really should not continue. We tried, it didn't work. So you're a smart person, move on to the next thing. So I think from the investor side, that's one problem. I think there's a terrible herd mentality in the VC community. Yeah. We feel that it's much better to do a bad investment if we did it with other people because we feel less stupid if there were others with us. Smart people, right? So I think contrarian investors are rare, and it's much harder to feel comfortable being a contrarian, if you will, because when you fail, and you will fail statistically on some of your investments, yes. Then it's because you were stupid. Why did you do that investment, right?
Yes.
Whereas if it was in reverse, you just were unlucky. Yeah. So that's another example. And I think on the founder's side, it really depends on what country we're talking about. There's many challenges, and they differ based on geography.
Yeah, but isn't that also for the funds itself, based on geography, that the problematic is different?
Sure.
Or contrary persons are more, maybe in some jurisdictions, more available than in others?
I hadn't thought of that in that sense, but yes, potentially contrarians could be more,
in the Nordic countries, for instance. I mean, you're Copenhagen Fintech, so therefore you probably know the difference there.
I would say they're probably not super contrarian in the Nordics. The Nordics, if you take them as an example, I think they have very good people, great technology, great concepts. The designs are wonderful. I think they fall a little short on the go-to-market. They don't have, the hunter, I'm going to conquer the world drive that you see in the US, for instance.
But no Viking mentality on that side.
No, not anymore, right? And you have big success stories.
Yes,
but
in Sweden also more probably than
sure,
Denmark.
But you also have some Danes. Chainalysis is a great guy.
Yes.
Pleo did very well. There's good stories in Denmark. But I think they're much quieter than our image of the conquering Viking.
That's true. That's true. Talking about ecosystems, we had it a bit before. What is your definition of an ecosystem, and how do you see that as a relevant part for investors and founders?
So, forewarned, I'm a big fan of ecosystems.
Good.
So we're going to start with that as a premise. I think in order for companies to be successful in whatever space that they're working in, those companies need to have all the different building blocks, if you will, to make them successful. So you need to be able to get the right technologists. You need to be able to get the right investors. You need to be able to have the right clients. And you need to be able to fuel the next stage, right? So, for instance, you might have an area where you have a lot of pre-seed seed investors, but nothing thereafter. That's a problem. So you really need to create an ecosystem with all the different players within it, or to be able to go to another geo to get to the next one. And so your ecosystem is not per se local. It could be global, but you really need to get all of it. I believe in it fundamentally because I think that if you involve all your clients from the get-go, you can understand very, very early if what you're looking at is something that actually interests them.
Yeah.
If they're willing to partner with you, be design partners or do a POC or really get their hands dirty with it. You know, when you present an idea to people, I'd say, as we established, most people are not contrarian. So they will probably tell you, wow, that's very interesting.
Yes.
But if you ask them to put any money behind it, they're going to run for the door.
Yes.
So you really do want them involved in a manner where you can test it out.
Yeah.
And see if it's more than just politeness.
Yeah. But there's also probably different by geography.
Not so much, you'll find. I think that if you're not actually asking them to do anything, most people will opt for the easy way, which is be polite.
Yeah, okay. So, but you said you like ecosystems.
I do.
Yes, but how would you start a good ecosystem? I mean, that's...
So, funny story. My first role at Citi, I was brought in to do something with the startups. And Citi didn't quite know at the time what they wanted. I was in Israel, and there was no fintech. I know there was no fintech because when I went for the job interview, I Googled fintech, and I only found like 3 entries, not pages, right? Entries that said the word fintech. And I was like, fine, you know, if I don't know what fintech is, but if Google doesn't know, maybe I won't be terrible at the interview.
When was that?
2013.
Okay.
So,
wow.
Yeah, the word fintech does not appear at the time, very little.
Yeah.
So for 6 months, I was trying to set up an accelerator for Citi. Accelerator was also a new thing. In fact, during this 6 months, there was a World Congress of all accelerators in Tel Aviv, and all 10 of them showed up. So it was really early days of that entire system. It was very exciting. And my then boss said to me, so how are you going to make sure people know about the program? So I said to him, well, I'm going to go talk to people. And he says, well, what do you mean you're going to talk to people? And I said, well, what do you mean? What do you mean I'm going to go talk to people? It was this very weird conversation because how do you inform investors about this amazing opportunity other than
talk to them,
talk to the investors, right? So this was an interesting 6 months at the end of which every person I met, I'd ask them, so what do you do? And they'd tell me, oh, I'm an angel investor in fintech. Interesting. So what did you invest in? Oh, I haven't invested yet.
Interesting.
So I think patience and a lot of cooperating with people and a lot of talking, endless talking to people, listening to what's needed, trying not to do exactly what everyone else has done and not to emulate, you know, the best practice of an accelerator or an ecosystem or community is X, but rather what are the special skills that you can bring to the table? How can you make it so that you bring real value that is unique? Because the way I would say it, for instance, at Citi was that there's a million places where you can go learn how to do a pitch. Come to me after you've learned, right? I mean, if you need help, and I'll still help you, right? It's fine. Yeah. But I'm not doing a 12-week course on how to do pitching because what I bring to the table as Citi is the most amazing mentors from the bank who can tell you what large banks want and need. And that's infinitely more valuable than getting those people to teach you about pitching because other people can do that.
Yes.
So
probably they never pitched before or not for startup money, right?
I would very much doubt that they have, yes. It was actually very nice to see how the startups educated the bank and not just the bank, the startups.
Okay. So Was there a corporate VC already at that time at Citi?
So
Was that part of the accelerator?
no, at the time there was a VC in the US, but it wasn't investing outside the US. And in fact, part of the negotiation was, were we going to take equity or not? And we decided we were not going to take anything, that we were going to do it literally to set up a fintech ecosystem from scratch.
Okay.
And Israel became one of the big ones.
Okay.
So it was very cool.
What do you think about corporate VCs?
So having worked for a fair amount of them, I think when you say corporate VC, there's many different types of them, from super strategic, almost technocratic, I would say. You know, the business is doing business with company X, so we'll put some money behind it without any analysis of what the exit could look like. It's not about that. To very financially driven and potentially even very loosely tied to what the business is. And you'll find that typically it's a pendulum. These guys, you know, with time become more lenient. Those guys during bad years become more strategic. I think they're a critical part of the ecosystem.
Yes.
I really like the idea of investing with some understanding of how this will apply, how this will work. In fintech specifically, it was very easy because the banks are very cooperative when it comes to venture investing. So you could really work together to create new startups from scratch. So really incubate ideas, if you will, all the way to investing in companies and helping them grow to massive successes.
Do banks understand how to take risks?
That is what a bank does, isn't it? By definition. I mean, if you think about it, when a bank gives a loan, isn't that risk-taking? Or
I'm not sure really if that's currently still risk-taking.
oh,
When you think about the collaterals they have and the amount which is secured.
when they ask it from me, it's way too high.
Good answer. What do you think is relevant for good innovation? Or what is innovation in the first step?
So it's a good question, right? Innovation can be from the most mundane little change, little uptick from what we currently have. And I'm saying it as mundane, but it's very good and it's typically quite easy to implement and does well. These are not usually the very, very successful startups. They're fine. And it can be all the way to something that's completely revolutionary. And, you know, I saw a car that becomes a helicopter and goes back to being a car. And so if you talk about last mile mobility, you know, stuff like that, that's, you know, groundbreaking, right? That's revolutionary. I don't know if you saw yesterday in the streets in Davos, there was a DHL dog.
No.
So cool.
I just saw the promotion before.
It's
At the
very, very
Cove, they
cool.
had a
It's, you know, you keep wondering what things are going to look like. And in fact, I heard about this company that was doing them. And the way it was, I haven't seen the product, but it was described to me as rats. And I was thinking, you know, I live in London. I was imagining little rats running around the city. There's more appealing thoughts. But this is, you know, a dog about, I don't know, 50, 60 centimeters tall. Like very muscular and energetic dog that seems to move around quite naturally and cool, right? So you see that type of innovation and you can see the dog arriving at your front door and you would not be freaked out by it. You'd actually be very happy to get your package.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, what else have you seen here at the forum so far?
So I think mostly it's not CES, right? It's not a place where you see all these super cool gadgets so much, or I haven't seen at least. What I've seen is a lot of people talking about a variety of topics. I came in questioning with the changes in policies in the US, what was going to happen when sustainability is such an obviously large topic here. So it was quite interesting, quite reassuring to see that people are still aware of what's happening in the world around us and still planning to continue to be active in the space. But it was also interesting to see that there's a shift from maybe empty words to action that is, you know, it's very easy to be very boisterous with words and say, I'm going to conquer the world and do all these things. So I think there's a lot less of that.
Yeah.
But what they're actually saying is probably what they're actually going to be doing. So it's more limited, but it's very concrete. So I like it.
Okay, so what are the biggest takeaways from the forum?
So the biggest one for me was in AI. So I'm the mother of many children, but many of them are in, finishing high school, beginning university type ages. So I had a very interesting conversation with a number of people who are experts in AI. And for all our audience that has children of that age, our jobs are not going away. You'll be happy to hear. But the recommendation is to continue doing what you like. So if you're an artist, if you're a lawyer, a doctor, whatever it is, fine to continue those professions. Just make sure you can code well enough to be able to create good prompts for your Gen AI so that you're not the guy who can't, or girl, who can't do the prompts on their own. Because the people who will be able to control the AI well are going to do a heck of a lot better than the others. So a very concrete takeaway, I think,
Yes.
which I liked.
Okay, so what will you do?
When I grow up?
Yeah, what will you do for writing? How can you learn that?
Well, first of all, there's... thank you for asking. I found out that one of the Coursera founders, Andrew Eng, has a course on Coursera, Gen AI for non-developers.
Wow.
So I think I'm going to be doing that next.
Maybe we do it together.
Sounds good. And when it's very difficult, can I cry on your shoulder?
Yes, probably you can. Or maybe, or maybe here at the team as well. We have a lot of geopolitical tensions at the moment, or a lot of changes in the world. So how do you see that as an investor? Is this opportunity or is it threat?
Probably a bit of both. So one of the booths I saw here was talking about investing in conflict zones. An interesting concept. It's very interesting because you never see your zone as a conflict zone that you can't invest in, but the others I'm a little more wary about. I think it's, if you look at what's happening in Israel, if you look at what's happening in Ukraine, there's great companies, great technologists, and they're both sides, both Ukraine and Israel, there's a lot of resilience, and you're seeing that they're continuing to do a lot of things. Investments have gone down. It's been difficult. There's no doubt. But at the same time, there is a new space in VC that has exploded in the last 6 to 12 months. Defense tech has become legit. How interesting, right?
Yes.
Suddenly, it used to be a swear word, right? No VC would touch anything, certainly not offensive. I don't think that's the case anymore.
No.
So opportunity in that sense, for sure.
Okay.
But also, this has also led maybe to a little bit more... it's tilted the things in favor of the investor, let's be honest. So I think there's amazing opportunities.
Okay.
And the current funds that are being invested in this current climate are probably going to have better results. Typically after 2008, after 2001, whoever invested thereafter did better than when you invest in 2021. True.
So if you would now found a company again, in which region would you go and why?
Interesting. I think the US has a lot of funds and a lot of the right teams, etc., to do it. The UK is doing pretty well in giving incentives to investors, etc., to give backing, and there's a lot of financial industries there. So for a fintech, it's definitely a good place to be. Israel's, got great technologists. I'm not mentioning Europe, am I?
It's more, the question is more, where would you go, and not giving an overview about the ecosystem.
Where would I go? I'd probably just choose a place where I want to live and where I have the right connections. So for me, it would be one of the three I mentioned.
Okay. So there's a lot of new people coming to the forum or to Davos this year. What would you recommend them to do to get to know people here? How easy is it? How difficult is it?
So this is my first year here, and I was given a tip. I was told, go after all the white badges. So great. I studiously approach everyone with a white badge. I try to, I'm with my glasses so I can see the names from afar, so I can quickly, Google the name, find out who it is. Overwhelmingly, if I succeed in reading it properly, it works well, because then I approach them intelligently and can have a conversation.
Yes.
I've had some other mishaps where I approached people and they were the driver, the security guy, etc. I have very nice conversations with them and don't turn around and run because that's really rude, but not the purpose of this visit to Davos, right? So I think it's all about networking, and some of the lectures are interesting. Some are more pedestrian. The big asset here is the people, and you really need to go out of your way to meet as many of them as possible. I actually had lunch today with a 23-year-old young man from the Netherlands who has set up an asset management fund investing in mining. And I had a very nice lunch with him, and it was very interesting to see what he's thinking and where he's going. So it's not just about meeting the Prime Minister.
Yes, okay. So you would heavily recommend for people to come, more people to come to the forum?
Depending on what space they're in, but yes.
Okay, so which space you think is relevant?
So this year, AI, sustainability are, the two big topics.
Okay. How do you see blockchain?
Fair. I was at the Unconference.
Yes.
There was a lot of talk there about blockchain, Web3, etc. Interesting times. Probably the US is going to be more liberal now, so could be a good time to be a blockchain startup.
Okay. So thank you very much for your insights, and I wish you a very good 2 more days here at the forum.
And thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.